All right, welcome in. It is a college football weekend here in the upstate. Will Vandervoort, Mark Sturgis, we're going to get you ready for tomorrow's 4:30 p.m. kickoff on the CW network. Just get to throw that one in there once or twice tonight. Between Clemson and Furman. Furman comes in 6-5 in a very bipolar season. Clemson comes in 5-5, 4-4 after last Friday's win over Louisville in ACC play. Again, a very bipolar season, Will.
Yes, two average football teams getting together in the Valley tomorrow for a home finale for Clemson. Got some things at stake. They were trying to avoid having the worst home record, with the exception of 1975 team at Memorial Stadium. That team went 1-4, and so they can get to 3-4. That would tie them with the 1998 team for the worst home record since 1975.
After I got sick, I covered Furman for 2 years. Had a couple of great years with them. And the fact they made the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs both years, ended one season in San Antonio at Incarnate Word. Mm-hmm. The next year at Montana, which is one of the most awesome work environments I've ever been in, on a Friday night, if you remember.
I remember.
But you just said it. Average Furman team, average FCS team. Average Clemson team, average ACC team. Go out there, get your work done early. Give Azina some more time to be looked at on tape. Make it a great day. It's Military Appreciation Day. Nobody does it better than Clemson, in my opinion. Now, granted, I haven't been to the Naval Academy. I haven't been to West Point. I'm sure theirs.
Do they do it? I mean,
I don't know.
They honor it every day, don't they? It's
like my parents said growing up. Yeah. You know, you got Father's Day, you got Mother's Day. When do we have Kids Day? They're like, sweetie, every day's Kids Day.
Yes, it is. That's a great line. That reminds me of my stepdad. I used to say, because all my buddies would have their allowances, and I said, when am I going to get my allowance? He says, you get to eat, don't you?
Yeah.
There's your allowance. And I was like, okay, then. I'm not going to complain because they fed me a lot.
All right, speaking of eating, let's give an update on Lakeside Lodge. They are full for Thursday. When it comes to Thanksgiving, they will be serving from 11:30 to 2:30, so make your plans next year. They are full. But
make your plans next year.
Yeah,
no
kidding.
You're
we
SOL.
Told you about it for a few weeks, man. And I know Cliff and Beverly over here, who we couldn't live without, they'll be here on Thursday having their Thanksgiving. But it just goes to show you how well they do things here. You know, they deal with us on home games with Clemson football.
And that is a lot,
yes,
us.
They deal with the live music. They deal with our friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, LakesideLodgeClemson.com. We don't have to be here doing a show. They have things going on throughout the year. Just check it out at LakesideLodgeClemson.com. All right, Will, we can't look ahead to the Furman game tomorrow. We're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. It's our last one of the year.
Yeah.
Without looking backwards, is there a better description of Clemson's 20-19 win over Louisville, except it was the game that nobody wanted to win? Clemson just kind of ended up with more points on the board at the end of the game, because it reminded me of being a child again. Hot potato. You remember when we go, I got the lead, so guess what? I'm going to have a bad snap and a punt and give it to you at the 25-yard line. Well, guess what? Hot potato to me. I'm going to miss a field goal to go up 20. I mean, it was like, oh, my God. And then you look at it, and Clemson had a big win that they really needed on this football season.
My favorite part, and it turned out to be the play of the game, was DeMonte Capehart flopping and getting the call when the guy pushes some, like that guy could push on 320-pound DeMonte Capehart like that. But, hey, that's what you're supposed to do. And, it was a legit call. And it pushed him back, and it was led to the missed field goal.
It was better than some of the stuff I've seen in the NFL when it comes to flops in the last few weeks.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was more legitimate. Also, Jeff Brom, look at the opposing coach's reaction on something like that. He's just like, man, you can't do that. And that was his initial reaction, and that's why you can't if the opposing coach immediately goes to their head.
And to Clemson defense's credit, though, even before that play, Louisville had -3 yards, -2 yards on their 2 runs before that play. So they were like stoning them anyway to make that field goal as difficult as possible. And then the 15-yard penalty helped it. And then, of course, Clemson had the missed tackle, which would have been they would have been throwing a Hail Mary up there from the 41-yard line. So if you got to make those tackles. Like when you play South Carolina next week, because, there's a guy that runs for them that's pretty good.
We'll get to that before we get out tonight. The other thing is, it looked to me when they replaced their starting kicker, that put so much pressure on the backup. He was leaning left to begin with before he ever made his approach.
He's their long kicker, so they've used him. He actually, I think, was like perfect. He was like 3 for 3 for kicks over 50 yards. Wow. Before that kick, and then he missed a 46-yard.
Well, it looked like I went back and watched it on film. It looked like he was leaning to the left, kind of like Happy Gilmore when the guy didn't have a shoe on back in the day, and it just sort of went left from there. But
good reference, by the way.
His defense stepped up. You have to say that when something has happened. In last week, in a 20-19 win against what had been one of the better offenses in the Atlantic Coast Conference this season,
you held them 20 points. 19 points.
Up.
Yeah, you held them to 19 points. Now, part of that was self-inflicted on Louisville's part. However, Louisville got a break there in the first quarter or the second quarter because you can make a strong case that wasn't a touchdown. That was a fumble.
It was a fumble.
Yeah, so they were kind of gifted a touchdown, if you will, if you want to say that. Clemson also held them to under 400 yards of total offense. That's always a good day when your defense can do that. And so you held them to 19 points. That's the name of the game. You made key stops in the fourth quarter after a horrible third quarter where they just getting trucked. Khalil Barnes was getting trucked. After that, though, in the fourth quarter, they had -7 yards rushing in the fourth quarter. So when it mattered the most, crunch time, the defense stepped up and made plays.
And then, as you mentioned before we got on the air,
the sack by Sammy Brown?
Well, hold on. I kind of picked on him a little bit. Yeah. I thought Sammy Brown had his best game of the season last Friday night. And then Hauser, he hits both of his field goal attempts. Earlier, I still say, man, what if he'd hit that field goal against LSU and you go up 2 scores? That's going to be the 25-25 year. What if Bryant Wesco Jr. hangs on to that catch at Georgia Tech? All of a sudden, you be 6-2.
What if the official keeps his flag in his pocket like a Duke? Because that game's won.
All right. And then you start getting into, things of, what if Georgia Tech in the Wake Forest game, if they
Clemson's
actually
8-2 right now.
6-2.
There's 3 plays we just named.
Yep.
Clemson's 8-2. And in the ACC championship game at 7-1.
And I freaking hate being that guy. That is loser's talk, but that is the fine line between making plays as you did in most situations 5-6 years ago as compared to today. I mean, a Clemson team 6 years ago doesn't play hot potato with Louisville there at the end. Yeah. They pick up the 1 first down they needed to run out the clock. That's what's been different this year. And now tomorrow should be a celebration. Furman and Clemson is a long-standing rivalry. Again, it's Military Appreciation Day. Purple will be the color for the day, if not kind of the camo, olive military look. But I want to mention something to some of our listeners. I'm not making any predictions. Chatter out there is, I don't know if this game happens again 8-10 years down the road.
Furman Clemson?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Not because of what Clemson.
Not with the new ACC schedule and Clemson playing Georgia, Notre Dame, and Clemson's trying to keep those games. And I think those teams want to like Georgia wants to keep it serious with Clemson.
Well,
and so
I think a lot of schools like Furman and Wofford are going to have to take a long look in the mirror here over the next 5 years and decide if they want to keep football, and if they do they want to keep it at the FCS level? Because when Furman played a few weeks ago, Sanford, who has now gone on to win the Southern Conference, there couldn't have been 4,000 fans in that stadium, and that included the students that were back there on the hill and not necessarily in the stands. Furman has just completely upgraded their basketball facility. Legit. So I don't
Yeah.
want it to be like I'm just shooting verbal harpoons. My question is, how long are the Woffords, the Furmans, the BMIs going to be able to keep throwing football out there because it's so expensive to do so?
Maybe they drop down to Division II.
We'll see. It's
You
worked
know,
for PC.
because it's worked for PC, it's worked for Newberry, obviously, in the years past. So maybe you figure a way to do it, whoops, sorry, I didn't know I had stuff coming on my computer.
Military Appreciation Day. We can always use more of that. But that's the sad thing is that's why Clemson fan that gets upset about this game being played tomorrow, understand why the state came to both South Carolina and Clemson, and now Coastal Carolina, which ironically is playing South Carolina this weekend, and said, please schedule one of these FCS opponent, FCS schools.
Clemson wants to, but you look at the.
But now can you do it?
The 2020, I think it's the 2027 season, or it's the 2029 season. Clemson has Georgia, Notre Dame, East Carolina,
and South Carolina.
I think in South Carolina, and then they got South Carolina State, I believe, on the schedule.
So we're going to
That's
13.
5 non-conference games.
Wow.
Well, no, they're not. They're going to have to get rid of one. Well, tell me which one they're going to get rid of.
They're going to get rid of South Carolina State, who, again, they need that money. But, you know, the nasty thing is, Will, when money becomes involved at the game's highest level like this, you become NFL light, and you're seeing it in the hiring process right now. We're going to talk about where I think some people may end up here in the next segment. We're going to talk about the ACC as a whole and maybe the 2 games of note this weekend. Listen, I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of controversy. Also, dealt with it last night. My Miami buddy walked up to me and goes, how are we that far behind a team we've beaten already in Notre Dame? You know,
great point.
Absolutely. So we've got a
Same
long
record,
way
too.
Yep, long way to go here in the show. But don't forget, go by and check out straightupsports.net. Bob Gillespie, Scott Kiefer, myself, McCain Childress is down there covering the Charleston Classic right now. Clemson's playing in that this weekend. So straightupsports.net, and we're gonna grow a little bit, a few other things planning on going on. But I want to listen, Cliff's not a writer. He's a rock and roll
Cliff's
hero.
not a writer?
He's a rock and roll hero.
He's a heck of a producer.
He's a great producer, webmaster, live sound, performer on stage. When we were talking about, this award-winning lineup up in Charlotte, and, Kiefer's won his awards, Bob's won his awards, I've won my awards, and Cliff goes, I've got platinum and gold albums on the wall from back in the day. Does that count? I'm like, hell yeah, it counts,
That
man.
counts.
So
That counts way more.
So he wrote his first sports article about the year 1970. It sort of explains why he became a basketball fan and a North Carolina and a Duke fan, which I give him all the grief in the world over. But congratulations. He actually sent it to me and said, make changes. And I went, nope. You need to put that up, and then because it was from the heart, what I mean. So,
well, I think he meant check for grammar.
Right, yeah. And guess what? We
says nope, it's sewn up.
We basically have this thing called AI to go correct everything for us now. That's your problem, not mine. All right, when we come back, ACC national games, a few coaching jobs, and final segment, we'll get you ready for that Military Appreciation Day game. Furman 6-5 at Clemson 5-5. The CW Network at 4:30.
To the innovators, the disruptors, the game changers, the ones who brave the frontiers of knowledge with relentless curiosity. There is a place where you belong, a place that gives you an advantage. Furman is your launch pad, your proving ground, your home. Here you're not just learning, you're evolving, igniting, propelling from who you are to who you're destined to be.
It's more than football.
Let's all come together to be a bridge builder for this great game to change the lives of the people in the state of South Carolina.
Together, we can be a voice to help educate, encourage, and empower excellence in our youth and community.
Join the movement and help support all that the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame is doing to embrace this mission of celebrating, recognizing, and encouraging excellence.
I'm here at one of my favorite places in Greenville. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill, 215 Pelham Road, here in the Commons at Pelham. And listen, there's a lot going on at Tip It Back here during the week. First of all, there's happy hour, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. There's great food. They're open at noon for lunch. But Mondays, you can enjoy live trivia at 7 p.m., then Monday Night Football. On Thursdays, it's football and then karaoke. On Friday night, some of the best live entertainment in the upstate. And then Saturday, it's football all day and finishes off with karaoke. And then Sunday, it's NFL football. And if you're a Steelers fan, this is your spot. It's a home for the Steelers. They're on the broadcast here in the bar all day long. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill. Check them out. It'll be your home for college football.
All right, welcome back in. We're live at Lakeside Lodge. Before we go any further, you can follow him on Twitter at Steeler Will, me at Sturgis Sports, Will Vandervoort, senior writer for the Clemson Insider. And Will, one of the best things about the website, you cover everything. Number two, as I get older and my daughter gets more expensive and we start looking and talking about things like a wedding and all, I love the price point. It's free. It's for me.
Yeah, that's right. Come on over to Clemson Insider. You can find us there at ClemsonInsider.com, on Facebook at Clemson Insider, X at Clemson Insider, and then you can follow me, as you mentioned, on Steeler Wheel. Also, go to our podcast. Jason Priester does his podcast on Mondays. I do mine on Tuesdays, Believe in Clemson Football, which is presented by FanDuel. We'll use their spread today. So appreciate them. And also presented by
Smoke on the Water. We'll get in that
we'll get to that
shortly.
a little bit. So appreciate them as well. So, yeah, you can find all that at the Clemson Insider on our YouTube page and Facebook and everything else.
Well, thank goodness for ACC football that we have a few games that actually care and matter. Living in North Georgia, I'll be honest with you, I become a big Georgia Tech fan tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I want to see them handle Pitt, move on to Charlotte. I think, justifies when I looked at Cliff up in Charlotte and pointed at Haynes King, and I said, this guy's got a very legitimate shot to be ACC Football Player of the Year, and I expect nothing different
I think he's
when
get it.
all is said and done.
Whether they win or lose, I think he still is.
But 8 p.m. tonight, getting kicked off just in a couple of minutes, Florida State 5-5 at NC State 5-5, and somebody called in to a radio show when I was coming into Clemson earlier and said, if the team that loses this game, do they fire their head coach? And, that's been a topic of mine. You and I had to have a quick phone call about something last night because somebody hit me up about something. At what point do some of these schools realize we actually have to keep our coach? And more importantly, and it might be what we talk a little bit in the next segment, is you have to understand your pecking order when it comes to coaches available versus positions available.
Yeah, you got to understand what that is, and what's going on, and it's a crazy time right now with everything that's going on.
But I love it. Check me out on Twitter. I got people hitting me up. I was talking to a guy from CBSSports.com last night trying to tell me that Dabo had spent 2 hours interviewing with Arkansas. If you go through and look at his schedule yesterday, there's not 2 hours that he could have interviewed with Arkansas. So,
that didn't happen.
Has Jimmy Sexton? Also, I think it's bad for football when one agent runs all these guys. So why act like you're interviewing anybody versus calling Jimmy Sexton? That's a story for another day.
That's right.
All right, so Florida State at NC State. I just think crazy things can happen in Raleigh on a Friday night football game.
Well, we just saw it. We saw it, like you said, mentioned Georgia Tech's lone loss is that one. We just saw it, so I think it can happen. And Florida State is good enough to go up there and win, but Florida State's also makes bonehead plays, and they're bad enough to go lose.
Sounds so similar to a football team that we've talked about locally.
If you flip this game to Tallahassee, then Florida State wins.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I think NC State has an edge because a night game, and we know a night game in Raleigh, Very underrated fan base. I've always said that they don't get enough credit for the atmosphere they bring to Raleigh for night games. They do a good job.
Speaking of atmosphere, coming off an A-plus hire, James Franklin, the new head coach at Virginia Tech. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Number 13, Miami, 8-2 at Virginia Tech, 3-7. Number 13, Miami, 8-2, that owns a victory over Notre Dame in the opening game. And I will cut Notre Dame a little bit of slack in the fact that they lost to Texas A&M on a holding call on 4th down. But you cannot sit here as a college football playoff host the other night, or the guy running it this year, and go, they're not close enough for us to put each other, and compare.
They got the same record.
They got the same record, and one of them beat them, even though it was in game number one.
That's what
Game number one. This playoff committee is so off the rails right now. Let's just call it what they want, a Big Ten SEC playoff.
I'm going to tell you what happened. No, that's not what happened here. You know what happened? Somebody forgot to rank Miami a couple weeks ago. That's what happened. And Miami they're like, oh, we can't let that out, that somebody forgot to rank them. That's what I'm telling you. That's what happened. And so they're trying to make excuses, because they've always said in the past, if two teams have the same record, they go to head-to-head. Well, Notre Dame and Miami got the same record. Miami won the game head-to-head. Now you're saying that doesn't matter. So what you're telling everybody across the country, every big-time school, I'm not going to play a non-conference game against Clemson or LSU or Georgia, because if I do and I don't win the game, or even if I win the game, you're not going to give me credit for winning the game. And so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to avoid it. We're going to play the Sisters of the Poor, and we're just going to play our non-conference games. That's what this playoff committee is in jeopardy of doing if that Miami does not get in the playoff.
It also shows that they can move the chains from year to year to make it look how they want it to look. And I do believe that right now, unless something goes completely wrong, 9 of the 12 teams in this playoff are going to be SEC and Big Ten. Now, we got a few weeks for some other things to happen, but right now that wouldn't surprise me. Mm-hmm. Also, at noon tomorrow, Delaware at Wake Forest. I just got to keep giving kudos to Wake Forest. You know, what all they went through after Dave Clawson walking away, and don't look now, they will probably be 8-3 tomorrow afternoon. That's just kind of one of those things that defies explanation to me here in 2025.
Hey, good for Wake Forest, though. I mean, they lost so many players to the transfer portal after the spring. Mm-hmm. And he somehow went together and got a bunch of ragtag guys and got them to play together and play hard. And they're probably one of the least talented teams. I picked them last in the ACC. I picked them not to win a single conference game.
But I go back,
and they're about to go 8-3.
Yeah, and they had a coach that was hammering a message that I wasn't sure I was going to believe in, the Washington State coach. And it's worked. Other thing that they have involved is very little money. So the guys are going out there and playing for their team, themselves, and everything else.
He should be coach of the year.
Yeah, I hands down. Because also at noon, Louisville 7-3 at SMU 7-3.
That's a big game. SMU's 5-1 in conference play. They're sitting on the outside right now, looking in to get in the championship game. But like you mentioned, if Georgia Tech loses, then they're right back in it. And then they control their own destiny because they beat Miami. Miami's hoping they lose and Georgia Tech loses, because then Miami's back in the race. So a lot going on tomorrow for that.
Yeah. Also,
that's a big game.
3:30 tomorrow. Duke 5-5 at UNC 4-6. No, Cliff, it's not on the hardwood. It's there in Kenan Stadium.
I wish it was on the hardwood.
Hill. Now, Duke out of it. Thank God, can't hurt the ACC anymore. North Carolina, I am going to miss y'all in 2025 football. First of all, there's a chance they could still become bowl eligible, and considering where they were 6 weeks ago, that says a lot to me. Furthermore, as a North Carolina fan, to have to go to bed last night or the night before, knowing my head coach was in an event, I think it was in Raleigh, to support his girlfriend Jordan, who's part of an all-adult cheerleading squad. Yes. he looked like he could have been 1,000 other places than he wanted to be. I didn't know they have adult cheerleading
Can North
squads.
Carolina just get rid of him? Can we stop
No.
so for the distraction of what
No.
she is?
She's
a huge distraction.
This is what football needs to be going into 2026.
No, please get reality TV off of college football. Please.
I got some really proud friends of mine that are North Carolina grads. I'm like,
I hate North Carolina, but I can't stand to watch this
explain
train
your
wreck
coach
anymore.
being in an adult cheerleading contest, and they're like, I can't. Sorry, I'm sorry. You knew this was going to be a little bit off the rails tonight.
I know,
right?
but I mean, I can't stand to watch
Yeah. All right, so
a
Notre
guy
Dame.
who's like a Hall of Fame, going to be in the Hall of Fame, in
Go
the
take
Pro
the
Football Hall
New
of
York
Fame.
Giants job. Go 8-8 next year.
Please,
Retire
yes.
with some dignity.
Get out of football.
Syracuse
college
3-7 at Notre Dame 8-2. All I got to say about that's the ACC continues to keep on giving for Notre Dame here in 2025.
Notre Dame at Syracuse, yes.
Yeah. 7 p.m. I think this is going to be a better ball game than some are assuming. Pitt 7-3 at Georgia Tech. I don't know how you could ever say with Notre Dame on the opposing sideline you might have been looking ahead a minute, but that did not look Saturday like a Pat Narduzzi coach football team. Is either Notre Dame deserves their ranking in the college football playoff, or just goes to show you can't look a week ahead, because I mean Notre Dame just physically beat up a Pat Narduzzi team, including knocking out the starting quarterback, like I did not expect.
Well, he said that losing Notre Dame doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He said that that week of that game. He says it's not the game they're worried about. Well, that was obvious. At least from the result,
yeah,
that
but
looked obvious.
that's like Shane Beamer saying we lost to the number 3 team in the country by 1 point. Yeah, you had a 27-point lead at halftime, too. So it took a lot of screwing up for you to lose that football game.
Oh, well, that's a
last
whole
week.
different story.
Yeah, we're going to.
Pitt didn't have a chance against
No.
Notre Dame.
All right, finally, because when you think of the game, the big game, whatever out there, Cal 6-4, Stanford 3-7.
Had the anniversary the other
Dude,
day.
Mike Hogwood couldn't spin that.
But
thing
why are
as
we
an
playing this
ACC.
game now, not next week?
Eh.
Like, what is Cal and Stanford going to end with next week that's going to make us say, oh, that's exciting?
Exactly.
I mean, this game needs to be with the other rivalry games.
So the reality is we might see a spot clinched in the ACC championship game this weekend. It'd have to break a lot of different directions for both to be claimed at this point.
By the way, interesting thing I didn't know about Cal, because a lot of people are worried about where Clemson's going to fall in the bowl pecking order if they win tomorrow. Well, Cal will fall in the Pac-12 pecking order, because the bowl things tie-ins are still there with the Pac-12. Cal and Stanford, if they're bowl eligible, still are part of that, as is Washington State and Oregon State and those teams, and Southern Cal and those teams as well. So Cal would actually possibly fall to a Pac-12 bowl game, which will open up a slot for an ACC team, because the ACC is going to have probably 11 teams bowl eligible.
All right, noon tomorrow, number 22 Mizzou, down 2 quarterbacks. Excuse me. At number 8, Oklahoma, 8-2. Congrats to Oklahoma last weekend.
Good win.
They went in and knocked off Alabama. Alabama, you can't have a 28-yard field goal with a bad snap and deflected right before halftime and the other stuff. Now they got to go on the road to play in a place that has treated them horribly next weekend in Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn. And, boy, I hate to see where it goes if he loses.
Let me ask you a question as an Alabama guy. How
Yeah.
bad did it hurt you to watch Brent Venables, for the second year in a row, take down your Crimson Tide?
Dude, I was cussing mad as that game ended for a variety of reasons.
All
which
because
included,
you wasted every opportunity.
Yeah, including on 4th and 5, you run a 4-yard out pattern to one of the best wide receivers in college football, and Ty Simpson wasn't big enough to realize that. I had also had a 5-hour drive from Blairsville to Charleston for a medical appointment on Monday, turned into a 7-hour drive. Okay, so we're going over the top of Blood Mountain on our way to Cleveland, Georgia. One of the few ways you can get out of Blairsville. We come around a curve in what I would call a smaller version of the Tail of the Dragon, which is about 30 miles north of us, all right? And we're the 4th car in what has become a stop on a corner. And you're seeing motorcycles come the other way, and you're like, what the hell's going on? You walk down, and you realize a McLaren had driven off the road and was fully engulfed in
Oh
flames.
my gosh.
Not a Datsun B210. I'm talking a McLaren. So guess what we had to do? We had to do a U-turn, go back this way, cross Brasstown Ball through Helen just to get out. I was so angry. By the time, I wasn't even that upset about Alabama losing. I was cussing everybody and everything by the time we got to Charleston.
Well, it could have been worse. You could have been the guy who was on fire.
I just don't want to have to go to the bar on Tuesday night and explain how I ran my McLaren off the road outside Blairsville, Georgia. That's like a loser comment if there ever were one. 3:30 tomorrow, number 15 Southern Cal, 8-2 at Oregon, 9-1. Oregon wins that, they're in. So that brings up the question now, coaching carousel. I think Virginia Tech knocked it out of the park.
I agree.
James Franklin has averaged 11 wins as a head coach, 11.2 if you want to get technical out there. And he's just a year removed from having a chance to advance to the championship game. Now you get to keep him in an area that he's already built recruiting ties. I hear today one of the former offensive linemen at Penn State saying, Penn State was getting some players cheaper because of their commitment to James Franklin. Dude, he just switches that, 2.5 hours down the road on I-81 there. A-plus higher. How many schools can Lane Kiffin coach next year? Number 2.
Ole Miss, LSU,
Is he that
Florida,
good of a coach for everybody
Auburn.
to be lining up? I think he uses a transfer portal well.
Yeah.
But is he that good of a head coach? I'm going to predict Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss.
I'm with you on that.
And I'll
I
tell
think
you
he does
why.
too, because I think it's a good fit. Ole Miss allows him to be himself. He does the transfer portal well, which works good for Ole Miss because
Yep.
they got the money to do it.
Yep.
And the pressure to win 12 games is not there. It's just all he's got to do is get them to the college football playoff or in contention. And I think that fan base is happy.
Kiffin is known to say what he wants to say when he wants to say it, but I also think he's well aware
If he goes
of
to
the
LSU,
hate
he ain't
factor.
going to be able to do that.
Well, just the hate factor of Ole Miss fans will just castigate him and everything he did in Oxford because he left to go to the next state over at LSU. I think he's a little bit more aware of that after what happened at Tennessee and some things like that.
Well, also, if you got a good thing, why leave it?
Thank
you don't
you.
have to.
That-
And Ole Miss is going to pay him, so it's not money's not the
exactly.
issue.
Money's not an issue. So I'm going to say Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss.
I think so too.
All right, so that opens up Florida. What happens there? Watch out, Georgia Tech. I think Brent Key might be in play for that Georgia Tech job, according to
Stay away, Brent Key. Stay away. I would not touch Florida with nothing. Look how many coaches they've had in the last 15 years. Stay away.
they
They've had
fired-
more coaches in 15 years
Go
than
back-
Clemson's had in the last 50.
Go back and remember Jim McElwain. He won double-digit games there twice and still got fired.
Still got
they
fired.
take Jim McElwain in the shark picture back in a heartbeat.
Look, what's his name at UNLV?
Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen. He won 10
All right.
games and took him to an SEC championship game.
So-
See ya. 2 years later. Bye.
So here's where I'm going. I think John Sumrall, the head coach at Tulane, he's
We don't mean
got,
Pat.
Yeah.
John.
He's got an Alabama
Madden,
background
but Sumrall.
from coaching back in the day. I think he ends up at Auburn.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Arkansas has tested the waters with everybody. They are the one school
Can
that's extremely angry.
I'm gonna let you
that
say the name
They
and then
lost James Franklin to an ACC team. They can't believe it. Tyson Chicken stepping up with money everywhere. So you better go spend that Tyson money, and I think they end up with
Yo, man. We're going to get it, man. We're going to go down there and win, man. That's what we're going to do, man. We're going to win a lot of football games. Nobody's going to beat us. We're going to be excited. We're going to be John Gruden, man. That's what we're doing, man. Nothing but winning, man.
But John Gruden makes so much sense with the Tyson money, the Walmart money,
He does.
the NIL, all that kind of thing. Because I don't
and
think
he'll rally the fan base.
that, and also don't think you can go out there and try to do what they did with this previous head coaching hire, which was an offensive line coach from Georgia that everybody went, what the heck? So I think you're almost having to get Arkansas fans to buy back in for the future. Finally, especially if he can deliver an
Oh,
upset
my
tomorrow,
gosh.
I'm going to go Lincoln Riley to LSU.
LSU don't want that.
They don't want Joe Brady.
They like to play defense at LSU, and I don't
They
know
don't
if that
want
guy
Joe
can
Brady.
do it.
I'm telling you, I watched enough of the Bills last night, going 7-4 in the NFL to
But
go.
you remember,
Joe Brady's not an answer.
there was a coach that Clemson people said, we don't want that guy to be our coach, and all he did was win 2 national championships.
Here's the thing. You can't call your shot if you don't take it. Now, right now, you need 1 or 2 of these things to kind of tumble in place. We have 1. Everything's all over the place, but I love the coaching carousel as you love recruiting.
Oh, well, I don't know. I do not love recruiting.
I hate
As I
recruiting.
love the Pittsburgh Steelers, not recruiting.
All right.
No, I
So-
hate recruiting.
So maybe like you looking at the free agent board after the draft.
Yeah, I
here's
do.
who we're
There
going
you
to
go,
sign.
yeah.
That's how I feel about the coaching carousel because that will come up. Listen. Coastal Carolina, it's got a 4:30 matchup tomorrow at Williams-Brice Stadium. Coastal could be argued at this point right now. They're the hottest team in the state of South Carolina. Oh, my God. Could you imagine if the little chickens beat the big chickens on
Please.
tomorrow?
Can we only offer that?
Oh, my
Can
God.
we only
The drama ahead of who's going to be burnt worse next week for their Tiger burn. Would it be Shane Beamer or the actual Tiger
Let me just ask you this
itself?
question. Does Beamer make it to the Clemson game if they
That's-
lose to Coastal Carolina?
Well, that's one of the things we're going to talk about because we also
I always
we
jump
have to
ahead on you,
take
don't I?
No,
I'm sorry.
we got to take a look ahead. But there are a few things that matter on this Military Appreciation Day matchup with Furman. The Paladins 6-5 on the year. Clemson's 5-5. That's a 4:30 kickoff on the CW Network. We'll talk about some of those keys as well as South Carolina when we come back.
Guys, we've got you covered this football season at StraightUpSports.net. We have the best retired writers assembled on one staff in the state of South Carolina, like Bob Gillespie, formerly of the State newspaper, Scott Kiefer from the Greenville News, me from ESPN Upstate. We even have a student reporter, McCain Childress, down on the coast, doing some Citadel and coastal things for us. But we'll change out the links and articles every week with some of the best stories. That's the key. The best stories you're going to see. Check us out, StraightUpSports.net.
My name is Shania Gullidge, and I work here at Traditions on the Lake. One of the things that I definitely think makes this place so special is the warm and welcoming environment. There is nothing on the menu that I do not like, and I'm typically a super picky eater, but there is literally not one thing that I wouldn't recommend. I think Traditions is definitely a perfect spot for a family. It is the perfect environment to bring your kids, very warm and inviting. It's just a very beautiful environment all around.
Kirk Fisher is a motorcycle attorney with first responder experience. He protects fellow riders and those in danger, fighting fires and fighting for your rights. Experienced, determined, and dedicated. Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Look for motorcycles, or Kirk Fisher will be looking for you.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment for us live here at Lakeside Lodge is, of course, next week's Palmetto State matchup. The
don't say it.
Clemson, South Carolina game. Or if you're a Gamecock fan, South Carolina, Clemson game. Don't give me Hardy's rivalry, blah, blah, no.
Or the other thing that I won't say.
But it's a Palmetto State matchup.
It is a Palmetto State
As a matter
matchup,
of
but I'm
fact,
not saying the thing that you eat cereal in.
Either. Yeah, no.
No, stop.
Hey, one thing left is South Carolina does have a chance to be champion of D1 football or FCS or FBS football in the state of South Carolina. That's all they got left to play for. But Clemson.
If they beat Coastal Carolina.
That's what I'm saying.
They got to beat Coastal Carolina then.
And then beat Clemson.
And then beat Clemson.
Yeah. So they would be unarguably.
They'd be the champs of the state.
Right.
Yeah.
When the season's gone.
But
like
Clemson
this.
would be unarguably too, because Clemson would beat South Carolina, who beat Coastal Carolina.
I agree.
So there it is.
Sometimes Mike Hogwood had
That's
to
why
make,
Clemson's wearing the orange pants.
Yeah. Sometimes Mike Hogwood had to make out of
High
what.
flying ACC action.
All right, so let's take a look. Furman 6-5. You mentioned finished 4-4 in the Southern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Mediocre football team at the FCS level, which I want to defend Coach Hendricks. All right. What a great guy. The NIL has hurt teams like Furman, where they would mine a gym, and now they're losing it. They're going, Tyler Huff, their quarterback, who started at Presbyterian, went to Furman, ended up playing for Rich Rodriguez at Jacksonville State. Mm-hmm. So they've lost a few gyms. This is for older people around here, this is an old rivalry game from back in the day. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, probably, really old people.
Yep. So here's the thing. Furman's got some pride. It's the end of their season. Some of these seniors, did you see the Boston College?
It's their last game.
Yeah, Boston College kid last weekend leaning against the goalpost, nobody else, because that was his last home game. So they will have some pride tomorrow. But if you're Clemson, you go out and wear them out, hopefully by halftime, get to move on. I want to figure out get a little bit of safety, because you got to find a little bit of offensive line room for the last couple of games, including a potential bowl matchup.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to watch for. Obviously, I think Clemson, one thing they want to do is, like you said, go out there, get a lead early, and then get those players like Cade Klubnik, Adam Randall, Antonio Williams, Peter Woods, T.J. Parker. Get them off the field as fast as you can. Bring those younger players in, because you need to evaluate those younger players. Denson, the quarterback for Clemson, the freshman quarterback, they want to see him. They've only seen him in one play all year. They want to see him on the field in real game action and have that tape to evaluate him for next year. That's very important. There's guys on the offensive line, some of the young freshmen that are going to play tomorrow. Gavin Blanchard, one of them. They want to see him in action, so get him as many reps as you can if you can get in that situation. Now, they got to go win the game first, and that's the most important thing. And I know fans get caught up, I hope they only play Cade Klubnik one play. No, they're not going to do that, because they got to get a lead.
He's still not 100%. Yeah. They admitted that this week. So get a lead, get him out.
Yeah, get a lead, get him out.
Let him go handle – because, one of the things that I made the comment multiple times, that Louisville screwed up last Friday night. Walking on that field for a Clemson road game, Clemson at Louisville, looking like the Gamecocks, almost like it was in Williams-Brice Stadium.
Their uniform is Carolina's.
Thank you. I'm like, one place Clemson has success is Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, so I almost think they got a little bit of a, even though it's a new
Hey, we're at home.
Week, hey, we're going to get this in 2 more weeks as well, so I think they got a little bit of practice.
They did. I agree with you. It was kind of weird. Like, first of all, if you ever go to Louisville, the stadium looks a lot like Carolina. It's in a city like Columbia. They're out by the airport, and so it's very industrial looking. And then
Churchill Downs, half a mile down the road.
Yeah, down the road. And then, they got cockabooses outside the stadium, and even the locker room and the visitors' press conference area is just like Carolina's. I mean, it's like almost identical. So, and then they come out wearing the South Carolina uniforms.
The black where you couldn't see what it was.
Go watch the Clemson-Carolina game 2 years ago in Columbia. It's the exact same uniform.
All right, so you buying what I'm selling there when I thought maybe Clemson looked at them and went, there's a little bit of comfortability here.
Yeah.
We've seen this. We prepared for this, just kind of in a different location. Final 2 things I want to see from Clemson.
The only thing different, though, there was one thing different. They didn't have things being thrown at them by the student body.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only difference. Go ahead.
And you can shoot those verbal harpoons and throw water bottles at Steeler Will on Twitter. All right. Next thing, keep seeing improvement on the defense. They look a whole lot different last week than they looked 3 weeks before. So
Yes.
just do what you do. Don't fall. Furman's got mediocre quarterbacks at best. Don't fall for the eye battle. Handle your business. Be a great time for a pick six or scoop and score in the first half on Saturday.
I'm glad
Give
you-
a little bit more separation.
I am, so you know how I am with stats. I'm glad you brought that up because I got the stat for you.
And then the final thing, while you look that up, I'll get this one out. Run the ball and just get another win. There's nothing beautiful about this 2025 season. Just get a win, get to 6, get healthy, go down to Columbia, take your best shot. And I've maintained this all along. This is the year when the ACC said, you know what, I'm going to do my best to screw both Clemson and Florida State when it comes to replays, as we saw in Louisville again this past weekend. Go let them send you to I've seen Clemson projected from San Diego to El Paso to potentially playing Kennesaw State in the Birmingham Bowl.
And New York, and they've been to New York too.
So just go suck it up this year. Let the ACC get, and then hopefully next year when you get back to July, maybe some of that cloud is settled.
If Louisville were to lose tomorrow, Clemson then falls into the slot where it could actually go to Charlotte and play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. So that could be a potential if Louisville loses.
You know, here's one. How about one that's different? I've been to Charlotte with ACC. Now, I'm talking for me only.
I mean,
this would be a cool
San Diego
time.
and
San Diego
in
hey,
January
listen,
would be great.
I went to El Paso for a wedding one time. I would like to go back. They have this place out there, Killer Barbecue, State Line Barbecue, where it's like where 4 states kind of come together. I'd go back out there in a heartbeat. Why? Because it's not the same thing.
Right,
To me,
my buddy.
half the fun of growing up a child, Will, you're a writer, was to read starting in late October. Clemson played so-and-so under scouts from the Gator, Peach, Liberty Bowls, blah, blah, blah. We've lost that old. This would be kind of fun to go do something
Well,
different.
saying that, speaking of that bowl game out there in El Paso, the Sun Bowl, my buddy who covers Notre Dame, they were there 2 years ago. He said that it was the best bowl atmosphere of the bowl games that are not college football playoffs that he's been to, and they treat the media really good. And he's like he says they treat it like the way it's still supposed to be treated bowl games are. So that was nice and refreshing to hear. So if that's the case, Clemson fans, and he says it's a good bowl experience for the fans, why not go out there if it's a good bowl experience? So anyway, get this
San Diego's going to be. I mean, that's
No,
a
San
little bit
Diego
more
be good, too.
expensive,
Yeah.
But, like I said, guess what? You can probably count on Clemson playing in Charlotte again sometime in the next 3 or 4
Could
years.
happen here.
So.
Could happen this year.
Yep.
By the way, your stat on that defense, you said you brought it up. Get a scoop and score or something. Did you know Clemson has yet to score a defensive touchdown this year?
Mm-hmm.
If that continues, if they don't do that in the next 2 games or in the bowl game, if they get that, it'll be the first time since 2007 Clemson has not scored a defensive touchdown during the season. How about that stat? Maybe you see it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just this.
Phil Sykes, by the way, gave me that stat.
This has been a year like I couldn't fathom, but it's not just Clemson. I mean, you look at what's going on at Texas, you look at what's going on at Penn State and these other schools. It just shows you we got to be a little bit closer to the vest during preseason, during the offseason, because honestly, we just don't know what we used to back in the day when you could see a roster being built. You just really, I hated to ask this at basketball, but most coaches admitted, I really don't know what we're going to have until about 5
Brad
days.
said that. Brad still say he doesn't know totally what his team's got. They're playing West Virginia tonight. They'll know a little bit more, but no, I mean, this is the first time, and the difference was Clemson did have a team that we thought we knew because they had so many guys coming back and everything. It's the first time I can remember ever a Clemson team that had the success last year's team had, was bringing back all these players from that team, and then had this kind of season. When I went and looked it up, it's never happened before. This is the first time Clemson has never exceeded expectations on a team that had this much coming back.
I tell you what it was. It was the last time I could equate this was Clemson lost to Baylor in the Peach Bowl. And people thinking the next year, all right, we're going to make a
but that
and then
team
they
lost a
went
lot of
6 and 5.
They
Yeah,
lost
but my
27
point
seniors,
being,
though.
after 2 years of success, you start licking your chops. Right. Speaking of, kind of a little bit, what's going on in Columbia right now with Shane Beamer and number one?
What do you mean? They're going to be in the college football playoff next year?
No, they're not.
That's what he said.
Yeah, this is when, if I'm an objective friend of mine at South Carolina, I wonder how many of these things can I get fed before people just completely – because believe it or not, the Chanticleers –
which is also a chicken.
Yes, it's a fighting rooster, just like a gamecock.
It's a French one, though.
Yeah.
Chanticleer.
God forbid if Tim Beck, and I was writing him off earlier this year, they got wiped by somebody like 42-0 at home. I think it was East Carolina maybe. It was just terrible. They've gotten better as the year's gone on. I'm going to be interested to see what kind of shot South Carolina has tomorrow at 4:15 after losing. They watched Texas A&M come all the way back and still almost had a chance to eke out a win. And somebody looked me in the mirror and go, how can you have 3 plays to end your offensive game like, 2 run out of bounds and a throwaway, something with the game on the line? God forbid South Carolina goes through the motions and Coastal were to win, that'd bring up a whole lot of interesting
dynamics
for Shane Beamer's final
for the final game. Yeah, for the Clemson game. That game's always interesting anyway. There's always different storylines going in, but as I said earlier, if they were after losing A&M the way they did, and then just what he said this week, and then to lose that game to Coastal Carolina, does he make it to Clemson?
Well, this becomes fascinating because, like I said, when the fans turn on you, which they have. I drove through on my way to Charleston this past weekend, and we listened to the post-game show on 105.5 The Game. Every 3 out of 4, if not 4 out of 5, I'm done with Beamer. Done after this. There were some troops. They played a tough Texas A&M team.
Absolutely.
But you can't lose a 30-3 halftime lead. So my point being is right now I think Shane Beamer at South Carolina is barring off a little bit of success here in Death Valley against Clemson. God forbid he loses back-to-back games at home to Coastal and Clemson. I don't know where South Carolina goes, but I know this much. It's going to be in the lower half of the pecking order, but these are things you got to think about. They are displacing longtime donors now with their seats to put in boxes for others. They're upset. How much are you going to be able to charge coming off 1-7 and 3? There's so many dynamics involved in this people don't know about.
Yeah, well, then also the politics in Columbia are not even – I mean, Clemson has a little bit of politics with its football, but nothing compared to Columbia. Nothing compared to it. The people in the State House get involved. The governor, if you remember a couple years ago when Will Muschamp was there, the governor was sending the athletic director, Ray Tanner, emails about how he needed to fire that football coach. And that's something you don't deal with here at Clemson. Graham Neff doesn't have to deal with that stuff. That's stuff that they do deal with in Columbia. And you're right. You lost a 27-point lead to Texas A&M. Then let's say you get upset by Coastal Carolina. Then you go and lose to Clemson.
1-7,
1-7 in the conference, and you were ranked number 13 to start the year.
And I don't want to start anything, but I know this much.
No, he started it. I think you're good.
I'm looking for what I'm getting on an ROI in every check that I write right now. And if that comes to football, and especially if I'd been in those seats for 35, 40 years, and guess what? You just got the middle finger. Those are going to be club seats, and they're going to it's going to corporate money. Mm-hmm. So they're fans that are getting upset with here's the deal. There's so much money involved now. Sanity has ceased. But as long as they beat Coastal Carolina and they don't get blown out by Clemson, I think Shane Beamer comes back next year. If, God forbid, they beat Clemson, then do you look to get out now, or you just come back and –
I tell you what, if South Carolina beats Clemson, okay, that would be 3 out of 4 years the Gamecocks beat the Tigers. And Dabo Swinney will fall to 9-8 all time against South Carolina. Coach Swinney's done a lot of good things here, and he deserves every opportunity to turn this around. But I can tell you, you lose to South Carolina again, Just
But
kind of
that's
turn that
pretty
flame up a
much
little
what
bit
Shane
underneath that seat.
Beamer has his equity in
Yeah.
the bank right now, which is
Dabo's got a lot of equity.
Yeah.
Shane's got a little bit.
he's proved he
Dabo's
can
got like a
lead
couple
team to
million.
9
Shane's got
wins.
like 100,000. So
Listen, I'll take either one. My wife gave me last year or 2 years ago this little. You put your money through and it keeps up with you as the coins go through. I can't wait to break 3 digits on that thing coming up, man. I mean, so if I reach $100 in that change, I don't need to buy weights anymore. I just get to take that thing and big curls with it. Okay. All right.
Oh man, I love it.
Here's the deal. Have a blast tomorrow. We'll figure it out when it comes to 2026. But again, they can follow you on Twitter at SteelerWill. Also, the Clemson Insider. Of course, we wouldn't be able to do it without our good friends over here, Cliff and Beverly Witherspoon. You can reach Cliff, redarrowsc.com. Listen, he can.
Arthur Cliff now.
Ooh, Arthur Cliff.
Author, yeah, he's an author.
When he starts asking for more money, I'm going to go get him to talk Bob Gillespie. I figured this out about my staff when it comes to our website. Kiefer, he does what Kiefer wants to do. Bob Gillespie, he can make a $1. He's Al Bundy reincarnated, going to the bar, a single dollar bill. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a great description of him.
And I love him. It's speaking of, because I don't want this anybody going, oh, look at these fools talking negatively against South Carolina. You know, Bob Gillespie just featured in that 1984 year where they named Joe Morrison's defense the Fire Ants defense. So, you know,
Dude, I'm gonna talk negative against South Carolina. I don't like them. I'm on a Clemson show. So.
Hey, guess what? Sooner or later, there's going to be somebody with purchasing power that's going to say, you remember that thing you said about South Carolina?
Well, it might be. It would be the first time it's come back to bite me.
Also, we got to thank our friends here at Lakeside Lodge, Shane and David Slevin and Leighton Cubbage and everybody. We couldn't do it without this beautiful facility. We're going to go in and see a friend of ours play, LC Branch, watch a little bit of football, and, you know, here's the deal. You can buy a place here. You can put it into their rental program, not have to deal with any of that stuff. Let them handle it for you. Oh, my goodness. You can actually see that ROI, return on your investment, every month when they send you a sheet. And I'm telling you, all you got to do is look around this campus and see where all they're putting residence halls right now. Mom and Daddy are going to need a place to stay coming up at some point. Lakeside Lodge, I'm telling you, great place, great food, great bar, the fire pit, the pool, everything right here. And if it's just a short-term thing while your child's in school, what a great way to get some money back.
The only thing is, you got to deal with us during football season. Other than that, it's pretty good.
Hey,
I mean, it really is.
Here's the deal. ACC, things we want to see different for 2026, real quickly, okay?
What do we want to say?
Number one,
2 minutes.
Get off your high horse, ACC. Quit screwing your bell cows, Clemson and Florida State. It's very reminiscent to me what the WNBA has done with Caitlin Clark. And let's beat up on the one person that's actually bringing us some attention right now, okay?
Yeah.
Physically have beaten her up. Number two, I need an earlier deal from Clemson University, the ACC, what kickoffs times are by March, because I have found out don't book a live band at Lakeside Lodge if it's a noon kickoff the next day.
Don't you know, though, only the SEC gets that? Only the SEC gets that, so I'm sorry. ACC doesn't get that.
Here's the thing. You think these SEC barbs you're shooting at me
I'm
hurt.
just telling you
As
what
a
the
Bama
truth
guy,
is.
There's not one thing that you could say.
If Clemson was in the SEC, they'd have a schedule.
Dude, everybody, you know, when we lose, we walk off the field. If we're on the road, other people storm it and rip the goalpost down. Outside of that, we will show up with white on white with crimson helmets on the road. Home, crimson helmets, crimson jerseys, white. That's it.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, sucker.
I know Alabama don't care about the SEC. You don't have to tell me that.
They hate us.
I know they do.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. You got every fan base around
You know who
the
hates
country.
Clemson? The ACC.
Yeah.
And
Ohio
Clemson
State-
Clemson goes and wears its white on white with the orange helmet, and everybody has everybody charges their field.
Hey, listen, you learned from some of the best there in Tuscaloosa, and I love the fact that you know what's coming up. There'll be purple on the uniform tomorrow for Military Appreciation Day. And real quickly, before I get, all my nephews, for the most part, part came through Clemson in the ROTC program and went over and served their country overseas. I just want to take a moment to thank all of our veterans,
Amen.
all of our first responders. You know, I've got this young man that watches our house up in North Georgia and all while he's gone, and I've seen his attitude change over being this, oh, I'm young, they're all out to get us, to now he understands that police officers walk up to a car any given time, they could be shot. Excuse me, if they're a little bit nervous, you know what I mean? And it's interesting to watch a young man kind of change his thought process on all of that. But, you know, it comes back to the reality of what they say from time to time. All gave some gave all.
Yeah. And real fast before we get out, talk about that, my stepfather was a Clemson cadet and was in the Army in World War II. You know, some of those guys out there that are in the Scroll of Honor, he knew. And so, you know, like to think about those. That's what Military Appreciation Day is. That's what that's why it's named Memorial Stadium. My brother was in the Air Force. My father was in the Air Force. So obviously, it's a big special day for me, and want to thank all those military guys,
Absolutely.
like my brother
we
out there.
wouldn't be able to sit here and cut up about college football, you know. And I think we're at an age right now, Will, where maybe some people need us. They're too serious about everything. This is something that a bunch of kids are going to go out there and do for our enjoyment tomorrow. And I know former players at this point, they're getting close to giving up boxes because they're like, I just can't stand the comments that I'm hearing up there during a football game aimed at these 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. And maybe it's on all of us to get off our high horse.
Absolutely.
Just a bit. All right, speaking of high horses, Cliff, Beverly, my wife, Carrie Beth, everybody with Straight Up Sports, thank you. We appreciate you. And guess what? Hope your team wins tomorrow.